Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'm truly delighted to welcome you to United Nations headquarters today for the presentation of the global campaign, Leaders for Peace, from Rondine Cittadella della Pace. This campaign, launched by young people from the World House and from the Rondine International Peace Lab, asks all 193 UN member states to ensure the training of the global peace leaders of tomorrow, to ensure human rights education is integrated in national education systems, and to provide scholarships to the leaders of tomorrow. This is a campaign that fits squarely with the celebrations of the 70th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights being held around the world today. This meeting brings together two core objectives of the UN: the advancement of human rights everywhere and providing opportunities for youth who will be the leaders of tomorrow, indeed are increasingly the leaders of today. I now have the honor to give the floor to Her Excellency Ms. Mariangela Zappia, Permanent Representative of Italy to the United Nations, and I would note that there is interpretation into Italian on Channel 7. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Alison, Undersecretary General. I just discovered that I could have, for the first time probably, spoken in Italian and been translated in English, but I will stick to my English speech. Thank you very much, Alison, for opening today. President Vaccari, welcome. Welcome to Rondine representative. Welcome to Christine and Noam. And of course, warm welcome to all of you, excellencies, colleagues, and dear friend. I couldn't have imagined a better way to celebrate the 70th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights than discussing with you three topics that are really close to my heart: youth, peace, and human rights. It's discouraging sometimes to see that the world in which we live is still characterized by widespread violation of the most basic rights. Extremism and intolerance exacerbate ethnic and religious division to the detriment of the most vulnerable, of minorities, of women and children. In the face of this reality, peace seems so far to reach and hardly capable of healing the wounds caused by conflict or of paving the way towards reconstruction and reconciliation. Today, you will be shown a concrete method to promote inclusive political diplomatic solution to crisis through a bottom-up approach, a method to promote the respect of human rights and fundamental freedom, and to invest in young people so that they become future leaders for peace. Let me explain what Rondine is. Rondine is, first of all, a small, beautiful village in Tuscany, Italy, where the organization is based, and where young people coming from conflict or post-conflict situations are hosted, living and studying together for a period of 2 years. Through daily cohabitation, these students learn how to overcome their first reaction of mistrust, sometimes real antagonism towards the others, to cooperate, and finally to help their communities build mutual trust and create a new generation of citizens capable of forging lasting peace within their countries and within their neighbors. The Rondine method combines the three key factors I mentioned earlier: youth, peace, and human rights. At a time when 42% of the world's population is under the age of 25, it is vital to ensure they are given a greater voice in conflict prevention and resolution. As the Security Council, with Resolution 2250 on youth, peace and security, and the recently launched UN Youth Strategy, Youth 2030, have recognized, youth played a crucial role in the maintenance and promotion of international peace and security. And for too many years, we thought of youth, and in particular young women, only as a victim to be protected by the violence unleashed by conflict and war. Rondine points to the positive and active role youth can play in peace-building activities, and as a member of Peace-Building Commission, Italy is a member of the Peace-Building Commission, we strongly believe that partnership with civil society, especially women and youth, is crucial to implement the sustaining peace agenda. Empowering today's generation of young people is the most formidable way to defeat the root causes of conflict. Italy is very pleased to support their effort for peace, also as a part of our broader support for conflict prevention, peace building, and sustaining peace. As the Secretary General recently stated, in light of today's acute and prolonged crisis, it is clear that reaction to crisis alone is not enough. The twin resolution on sustaining peace highlight the necessity of a cross-pillar approach and refer to the relevance of human rights for conflict prevention and sustaining peace. This is why our work must focus on prevention, on balancing our action in the domains of peace and security, and on threading our activities through the three pillars of the UN: peace, sustainable development, and human rights. Our support to conflict prevention is based also on promoting education on human rights. In this regard, Italy is part to the Platform of Human Rights Education and Training, an informal cross-regional group of states which aims to keep the attention high on the promotion of human rights education and training. Together with the partners of the platform, Italy is also sponsoring Geneva of the resolution on the World Programme on Human Rights Education and Training, which seeks to advance the implementation of human rights educational programs in all sectors to promote a common understanding of basic principles and methodologies of human rights education and to strengthen partnerships and cooperation both internationally and at the grassroots level. I'm glad and honored to see UNESCO and the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights here today to support this endeavor. As member of the Human Rights Council started in January, Italy is ready to further step our effort in this field. And I'm also happy to welcome representatives of the Holy See and the Episcopal Conference, because as you will see, Rondine has been received by Pope Francesco very recently, and also by the head of state of Italy, President Mattarella. I truly believe that the Rondine example and method are the practical embodiment of the UN's concept of conflict prevention and sustaining peace, and definitely merit to be studied more in depth and possibly taken as a model for many of our peace-building programs. Today, Rondine students will launch an appeal to us, to all of us, to invest more in youth, in peace and in human rights, 70 years after the Universal Declaration of Human Rights was adopted. I believe we need not only a renewed commitment to peace, but also a renewed commitment to create mutual trust among people, cultures, and nations. I, in turn, would like to launch an appeal to you, students of Rondine. Be aware that every social movement for human rights and solidarity in history has been led by young people. You are the true custodians of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Please ensure that it will remain a living document. I appeal to you to keep it alive for another 70 years and more, to show us the path to a world of peace, dignity, and opportunity for all. And I thank you. Thank you, Alison.
Thank you. Thank you, Excellency. I now have the pleasure to introduce a video featuring Pope Francis. Assuming it's showing.
Siete già voi quei giovani leaders che nell'appello chiedete agli Stati e ai popoli di impegnarsi a formare insieme. Ci chiedete di aderire al vostro appello. Da parte mia lo farò e domando ai capi di Stato e di Governo di fare altrettanto. La vostra voce, debole ma forte nella speranza e nel coraggio della giovinezza, possa essere ascoltata il prossimo 10 dicembre alle Nazioni Unite. Siete già voi quei giovani leaders che nell'appello chiedete agli Stati e ai popoli di impegnarsi a formare insieme. Ci chiedete di aderire al vostro appello. Da parte mia lo farò e domando ai capi di Stato e di Governo di fare altrettanto. La vostra voce, debole ma forte nella speranza e nel coraggio della giovinezza, possa essere ascoltata il prossimo 10 dicembre alle Nazioni Unite. Siete già voi quei giovani leaders che nell'appello chiedete agli Stati e ai popoli di impegnarsi a formare insieme. Ci chiedete di aderire al vostro appello. Da parte mia lo farò e domando ai capi di Stato e di Governo di fare altrettanto. La vostra voce, debole ma forte nella speranza e nel coraggio della giovinezza, possa essere ascoltata il prossimo 10 dicembre alle Nazioni Unite. Siete già voi quei giovani leader.
After those words from His Holiness, I'd like to move to the presentation of Leaders for Peace, a 3-year project from Rondine and the Rondine International Peace Lab. We will now hear from a student about the ways in which this campaign can serve as an answer to violations of human rights worldwide. Larissa, a student from Armenia and a future emerging leader, will introduce the analysis done by Rondine on the global state of conflicts and human rights. Larissa, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Today, at the 70th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the international community faces a resurgence of identity conflicts and dehumanization. As a result, the progressive development of human rights, international peace, and security are endangered and currently confront a common enemy. The present dossier, written by students and members of Rondine Cittadella della Pace and students of Rondine International Peace Lab, aims to emphasize the relationship between peace and human rights as fundamentally intertwined values of the international community and international law. The preamble of the UN Charter reaffirms faith in fundamental human rights and the purpose of uniting our strength to maintain international peace. One of the main purposes of sustaining peace is ensuring that the needs of all segments of the population are taken into account, and that it is a shared task and responsibility that needs to be fulfilled by the government and all other national stakeholders. This statement applies to the concept of positive peace, which is defined as the absence of any kind of violence against humanity. The following research introduces the various angles of the current dynamics of violence and conflict, as well as approaches to peace building and conflict transformation. The study finds nationalism as a core element of identity politics, which can play a growing role within the motives behind human conflicts. When nationalism is described by fear and extreme ideas, it can shape the image of the enemy. In this respect, through power and collective memory of victories, it defines the hostile division between us and them. The data confirms in war-affected countries the education system is among the first to collapse. Violence against education is exerted through the attacks on schools, students, teachers, through the military use of schools or universities. As a result, the youth population is excluded from education, which creates a social obstacle to end violence and rebuild a post-conflict situation. The context analysis mentions the importance of democracy in the peace-building management with the initiatives aimed to promote the quality of democratic elections and non-violent methods of solving conflicts. The countries involved in conflict have a lower level of democracy and suffer a relevant lack of freedom and human rights awareness. In authoritarian and non-democratic systems, the use of violence and coercion is higher than in a democratic regime, which often leads to civil wars or revolutionary actions. During recent decades, contemporary conflicts in the international community reached a high level of complexity, which is the failure of negotiations served by first-track diplomacy. The survey shows that official diplomacy doesn't empower civil society in the conflict resolution and prevention context. The paradigm of second-track diplomacy describes the role of civil society in complementing states and international organizations to address the problems of international community and find ways for peace and security. Acknowledging the role of young leaders in peace building and conflict transformation process, the study states the necessary provision of youth leadership education, which highlights the involvement of youth in responsible, challenging action that meets genuine needs with opportunities for planning and decision-making. Young leadership education aims to make youngsters aware of their responsibilities of planning and decision-making in order to participate in the reduction of youth vulnerability in political and social reality, to encourage young people to get involved in the change and development process. Today, it is almost impossible to imagine a world without violence or conflict generated into war. Fast solutions seem surreal, but it is possible to work on the prevention of the factors mentioned above. Now, it is urgent to take an action contributing to the future development and security. Thus, with the present dossier, us, the Fellows of Rondine, want to draw your attention to the actual problems that require immediate solutions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Larissa, for the presentation. Next, I believe we're watching a video that illustrates the first steps of the campaign.
We are young people coming from places of war and post-conflict situations, belonging to enemy populations and parties. We have created and experienced human and cultural coexistence in the 20 years of the life of Rondine Cittadella della Pace in Italy. Through its innovative approach to conflict transformation, which we call the Rondine method, we have learned to live together as global brethren. At Rondine, we have understood how the concept of enemy is a global fallacy that pervades the world's different cultures and insinuates itself into people's lives, emotional, sentimental, intellectual, and cultural, depriving relationships of mutual trust. We need global leaders, leaders of peace, trained with this new method, capable of immediately influencing societies and our world to guide change and propel us into a new era of human history. 70 years after the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and a century after the end of World War I, we can choose to leave 100 years of war behind us and look ahead to 1,000 years of peace. The objective is the gradual extinction of wars from the planet through the affirmation of a culture of pacified relations. Leaders for Peace is the name of the 3-year campaign we are launching today, and for which we ask the 193 UN member states and other nations, social, religious, and economic entities families, and private individuals too. Provide for the training of new global peace leaders who can intervene in the main contexts of armed conflict in the world to promote the development of pacified social, economic, and political relations. Rondine is committed to training the first 200 leaders over the next 10 years with its Global Intervention Project. Extend to all the member states education on human rights in their national education systems, integrating them with the results of the Rondine method on the creative transformation of conflicts as a significant development of Article 26 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Donate scholarships to train new global leaders. We ask member states for a symbolic contribution which can be earmarked in their defense budgets. This is our first step. We are waiting for yours.
I now give the floor to Mr. Franco Vaccari, founder and president of Rondine Cittadella della Pace. You have the floor.
Signora Sottosegretario Generale Alison Smail, Eccellenza Mariangela Zappia, rappresentante dell'Italia alle Nazioni Unite, illustri ambasciatori, rappresentanti degli Stati, autorità, signore e signori, amiche e amici. A che titolo prendere la parola e ringraziarvi per l'onore attribuito all'Associazione Rondine per questo incontro così prezioso? Una domanda che mi sono fatto e ci siamo fatti a Rondine fin da quando abbiamo ricevuto l'invito della rappresentanza italiana per celebrare la giornata odierna, il 70° anniversario della Dichiarazione Universale dei Diritti dell'Uomo. Una domanda intrisa di timore e di desiderio. La Cittadella della Pace è un'esperienza umana, pedagogica, culturale e oserei dire politica, iniziata esattamente 20 anni fa. La giovane che vi ha portato il saluto prima di me lo ha fatto a nome degli altri 200 che hanno vissuto questa medesima esperienza. Hanno cioè con coraggio lasciato la loro casa, la famiglia, gli amici, il proprio popolo segnato dalla guerra, attuale o recente, per arrivare in un piccolo borgo, Rondine, in Toscana, e questo è il nome suo da 1000 anni, lo avete visto, e convivervi per 2 anni in modo intenso, coinvolgente nelle loro fibre più intime. Non hanno semplicemente tenuto a freno emozioni o pensieri, ma hanno cambiato mentalità. Cresciuti nei tanti territori delle guerre, disseminati nel pianeta, che li faceva per questo nemici, hanno scoperto con concretezza sorprendente nell'esperienza quotidiana e in una formazione esigente che il nemico, il concetto di nemico e tutte le sue orribili derivazioni è un inganno, è una costruzione avvelenata, un inganno disumanizzante che blocca la loro crescita spirituale, culturale e sociale. Voi, illustri ambasciatori e partecipanti, conoscete senza dubbio i dati di queste tragedie. Tra tutti, una alle vostre coscienze, il dato della Banca Mondiale, che ci informa che circa 3 miliardi di persone sono coinvolti in modi diversi nelle varie forme di violenza e di guerra. Di questi 3 miliardi, 1,5 miliardi appartengono alla stessa fascia di età dei giovani di Rondine. Ponendo sullo sfondo questo dato, vi prego di seguirmi nel mio ragionamento. I giovani di Rondine, provenienti da quelle tragiche situazioni, da 20 anni insieme hanno tenuto alta la fedeltà all'appartenenza ai propri popoli e ne dovete essere fieri. Ma contemporaneamente sono riusciti a maturare l'attenzione reciproca per le rispettive sofferenze e i rispettivi morti. Insieme hanno identificato e dissolto le immagini negative che devastano i cuori. Sono rinati in loro i sogni di bene e di futuro. Da 20 anni a Rondine ogni giorno avviene questo e da 20 anni da Rondine, una volta completato con successo il percorso formativo, tornano nei propri paesi giovani leader che grazie alle loro relazioni totalmente rovesciate vivono nuovi sentimenti, nuove aspirazioni e nuovi progetti. Diamo loro il titolo di Rondini d'Oro, senza nulla togliere alle vostre eccellenze. Certamente su un piano ben diverso sono ambasciatori di pace nel mondo. Con questa prospettiva, circa 2 anni fa, è nato Rondine International Peace Lab e il suo presidente prenderà la parola dopo di me. È un frutto maturo, è unico. Come avete sentito nella presentazione, già in azione in diversi scenari con altrettanti successi. Soggetti, per così dire, staminali, avanzano solidamente fondati sulla fiducia e sulla competenza. Ne converrete, è una novità nello scenario internazionale. Agire sulla base della fiducia. Quale moneta più preziosa di questa? A che cosa giungerà la migliore professionalità senza la fiducia? Loro, eccoli, sono la realtà anticipata di quel futuro che ogni uomo e ogni donna su questo pianeta desiderano. Una sincera convivenza pacifica. Abbandonando con fatica e passione i veleni dell'inimicizia, si sono riconosciuti reciprocamente come persone, depositarie di diritti inalienabili, e ne è nato un dovere comune: cambiare insieme il mondo, portare pace. Un'applicazione concreta e insolita dei diritti umani permette a loro di vivere oggi quello per cui voi, illustri ambasciatori, impegnate la vostra vita e la vostra alta responsabilità, specialmente in questo luogo unico al mondo. Per tutte, ma lo farà poi Monsignor Giorgio Biguzzi, vale la pena di ricordare il progetto in Sierra Leone che ha coinvolto più di 1 milione di persone. Dunque, le loro relazioni rinnovate sono come una terra nuova, una fioritura di un'umanità desiderata, nata dove si pensava che fosse impossibile. I popoli in guerra sono divisi dalla terra di nessuno. Questi giovani hanno osato camminare nella terra di nessuno. Questi giovani hanno vissuto l'inesistenza di relazioni, la diffidenza diffusa, alimentata dal sentimento di minaccia che porta con sé rabbia e dolore. E come avete sentito, hanno costruito con coraggio relazioni fondate sulla fiducia. Ebbene, qui sta forse la risposta alla domanda da cui sono partito. A che titolo? Perché Rondine oggi può parlare alle Nazioni Unite? Con i suoi 20 anni di esperienza, Rondine è arrivata gradualmente a un punto di maturazione, per cui forse deve proporsi su uno scenario globale. Me l'hanno suggerito alcune pagine di Doug Hammarskjöld, che ho riletto in preparazione a questo evento per attingere linfa culturale. Il primo grande segretario generale delle Nazioni Unite affermava infatti che, inizio della citazione, la maturità è non nascondere la propria forza per paura e conseguentemente vivere al di sotto del proprio meglio. Di quale genere di maturità allora possiamo parlare? Una maturità umana generata da chi si è esposto, ha rischiato l'incontro col nemico. Quale forza possiamo offrire se non un piccolo patrimonio di fiducia? Fiducia paradossale, generato da coloro che per definizione dovevano non averne. In un laboratorio di rispetto integrale dei diritti umani ne è nato un comune dovere, perché abbiamo estratto forza umana dove era impensabile, dall'abisso del dolore e della rabbia. I giovani ospitati a Rondine, vittime delle guerre, hanno compiuto la scelta di non restare vittime e diventare protagonisti di cambiamento e di futuro. Cosa apre tutto ciò? Apre una visione e un compito. Con l'esperienza di Rondine, accanto ai giovani provenienti dai luoghi di guerra, ho compreso che al fondo dell'umano ci ritroviamo tutti. Nel dolore come nella speranza, nella rabbia come nei bisogni fondamentali, prima fra tutti la fiducia. Avvertiamo la sostanziale uguaglianza e in quell'esperienza ci sentiamo tutti dalla stessa parte. Radicati in quel punto di vista si sviluppa un sapere umano che ci cambia, chiedendoci oggi di assumere un compito condiviso. Ecco perché da una piccola esperienza può nascere una grande visione, diversamente da quello che spesso si è indotti a credere. Alla ricerca di grandi esperienze, la visione diventa corta e misera. È il rischio dichiarato da alcuni anni fa da un famoso sociologo. Abbiamo messo 1000 occhi e siamo rimasti al buio. Ecco allora, sul patrimonio della fiducia vorrei coniugare la storia ventennale di Rondine, che si compie in questi giorni. Abbiamo fatto il compleanno da Papa Francesco e l'incontro di oggi per guardare e avanzare insieme nel futuro. Un luogo unico in cui avviene l'incontro, in un palazzo di vetro, simbolo di trasparenza e di ogni mediazione, aperto persino alla soluzione che pare impossibile trovare. L'umanità, pensandolo e edificandolo non solo fisicamente, ma giuridicamente e culturalmente, ha raggiunto un vertice della sua storia. Poggia sulle fondamenta del dolore e delle guerre e sulle speranze di pace dei popoli. Veniamo qui e osiamo prendere la parola con questa consapevolezza. E dunque portiamo e proponiamo il nostro piccolo passo di avanzamento verso un mondo senza più guerre. Sogniamo. Hanno già sognato tanti prima di noi. E in nessun luogo più di questo abbiamo la certezza che l'umanità ha progredito grazie a quell'impulso che chiamiamo sogno. Possiamo forse dire che il mondo è uguale con o senza le Nazioni Unite? Con o senza la Dichiarazione dei diritti universali dell'uomo? La schiera dei sognatori è lunga e attraversa gli ultimi 100 anni come una corrente calda di speranza scaturita dallo shock della Prima Guerra Mondiale. Gandhi, Lester Pearson, Martin Luther King, Albert Schweitzer, Nelson Mandela, Andrei Sakharov, i molti operatori di pace nascosti, dimenticati e martiri. Un'esperienza unica. Ho già cercato di presentarvela. I protagonisti di questa esperienza hanno ricevuto parole di incoraggiamento qualche giorno fa da Papa Francesco e non ripeto. Ugualmente il Presidente della Repubblica Sergio Mattarella ha voluto incoraggiarci e vedendo i giovani uniti davanti a lui in questa sorprendente amicizia ha riconosciuto che in loro sta la pace bene indiviso. Dunque, oggi incontriamo queste unicità. Questo giorno e quest'ora sono unici. Oggi può avanzare quel bene concreto che avete davanti ai vostri occhi. Dunque, adesso mi rivolgo al Presidente di Rondine International Peace Lab, a Aga. Non prenderò io la parola per indicare il prossimo passo. A Rondine, Aga, lo sai, funziona così. I giovani prendono la parola perché sono la generazione che esplora e avanza. Mentre gli adulti stanno alle loro spalle e li sorreggono, li incoraggiano. Come hai sentito, Aga? Ho parlato agli ambasciatori e ai rappresentanti e ai partecipanti perché ti ascoltino. Ho spiegato la forza della vostra debole voce, spero di averli convinti e che possiamo con loro sentirci tutti dalla stessa parte. La parte di dare chance del futuro a voi che siete già i leader di pace, come vi ha detto il Papa, e che ora potete moltiplicarvi se troveremo l'aiuto che chiediamo e che chiedete. Ora sta a te, signor Presidente, togli le incertezze e gli ultimi dubbi, sta a te e a voi mettervi in gioco e far vedere l'autorevolezza che avete guadagnato col coraggio di andare incontro al nemico quando tutti vi dicevano non lo fate. Rondine è con te e con voi. Si impegna a formare leader di pace. Col nuovo metodo sapremo affrontare le sofferenze e togliere dal pianeta la suprema sofferenza della guerra. Oso sperare, illustri ambasciatori, di non essere più davanti a voi, ma con voi, davanti al futuro. Perciò concludo, mi siedo e mi metto in ascolto delle tue parole, signor Presidente.
Thank you, Mr. Vakari. And now Mr. Agaraim Poladov, President of the Rondine International Peace Lab, will deliver his remarks.
What is patriotism in your understanding? See how many beautiful words are there in the definition of this concept. Love, devotion, attachment, loyalty, alliance. Now ask yourself what we are doing instead. We hate, separate, detach, and kill people, hiding ourselves in the shadow of beautiful words written in books and Wikipedia, shown on media? Am I a better patriot if I kill a human being who you make me perceive as an enemy? Am I a better patriot by hating the one who I don't even know? I think I'm a better patriot if I help to clean the land from waste. If I live for my country and help other people live better, regardless their name, ethnicity, religion, but not die for it. Because life is a universal human right and cannot be denied, especially today when we celebrate the 70th anniversary of Declaration of Human Rights. We, members of Rondine International Peace Lab, come from different conflict and post-conflict regions. We chose Rondine to rediscover ourselves. Moreover, we did it, and we understood that it's time to act. Most of us had a tragic history back home, and most of us are now back home to their homelands trying to make it a better place for living. If right to live is essential, right to peace is irreplaceable. What a life is going to be if you are born in a war, hate, and have no idea what your future is going to be about. That is what my friends from Rondine International Peace Lab faced from childhood. That is what we, young leaders from 25 different countries of the world, are trying to change in our homelands. We believe in the will of human being, and we try our best to prove it. Nadia, making a courageous fashion collection from Palestinian and Israeli cultural elements, is acting, bringing a right of expression to life. Manuela and Jessica, training citizens of Sierra Leone to choose a better future, are acting, bringing a right of choice to life. Ismail and Maria, mediating dialogues between Azerbaijani and Armenian youth, are acting, bringing a right of peace to life. It all sounds as a dream of maximalist young people who don't know nothing about life. But wasn't UN a maximalist dream to bring peace between nations of the planet? So now we ask your support. In your own idea, in your own goal that we share. We, ambassadors of peace and reconciliation, united for a greater cause that surpasses all of us. We seek to reshape the world and lead change to a future of peace. We ask you, member states, to dedicate a little amount of your immense defense budgets to educate and bring up new leaders of peace, young people that do not hide behind words, who really love, who really help, who really devote themselves to people and their life in peace. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Polalov. It is now my pleasure to give the floor to two young people whose communities have been in conflict for far too long. Noam, an Israeli student from Tel Aviv, and Christine, a Palestinian student from Bethlehem. They will read together the appeal that was presented to the President of Italy, Sergio Mattarella, and to Pope Francis on 3rd of December. While we listen to them, let's keep in mind that 200 other young people worked on the appeal. As we've already heard, they completed their training at Rondine and are now back in their home countries, continuing their research for peace. So please, the floor belongs to all of you.
I'm Noam, an Israeli from Tel Aviv.
And I'm Christine, a Palestinian from Bethlehem. Today, on the behalf of all the students of Rondine, we want to present to you our appeal, Leaders for Peace. We are young people coming from places of war and post-conflict situations, belonging to enemy populations and parties. We have created and experienced human and cultural coexistence in the 20 years of the life of Rondine Cittadella della Pace in Italy. Through its innovative approach to conflict transformation, which we call the Rondine method, we have learned to live together as global brethren.
At Rondine, we have understood that the concept of enemy is a global fallacy that pervades the world's different cultures and insinuates itself into people's life, emotional, sentimental, intellectual, and cultural, depriving relationships of mutual trust. We have concretely understood how one can move away from the permanent logic of the enemy and prevent a resurgence of this logic in any context. The aim is to preserve the human component in this new global society and to stop poisoning the world with poisoning the planet with war, which feeds on preconceived notions of enmity.
Through this extraordinary experience, in which we have overturned conflict into a springboard for human development, we are able to unmask the fallacy that has rendered immovable more than 1 billion people in their thinking and individual or collective behavior. Unmasking this global fallacy will thus enable us to making a quantum leap forward in the respect of human rights, which have yet to be fully exercised due to war and the logic of the enemy that produces it.
This is why we are here at your service. Having recaptured mutual trust among people, we ask states, nations, social, economic, cultural, and religious entities, families, and individuals to heed our appeal. We need global leaders, leaders of peace trained with this new method, capable of immediately influencing societies in our world to guide change and propel us into a new era of human history.
70 years after the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and a century after the end of the First World War, we can choose to leave 100 years of war behind us and look ahead to 1,000 years of peace. The objective is the gradual extinction of wars from the planet through the affirmation of a culture of pacified relations. For this reason, we must urgently pass on to the leaders and the citizens of the world the skills that can positively transform conflict and produce endless benefits.
Leaders for Peace is the name of the 3-year campaign we are launching today, and in which we ask the 193 UN member states and other nations, social, religious, and economic entities, families, and private individuals to provide for the training of new global peace leaders who can intervene in the main context of armed conflict in the world, to promote the development of pacified social, economic, and political relations. Rondine is committed to train the first 200 leaders in the next 10 years with its Global Intervention Project.
extend to all the member states education on human rights in their national education system, integrating them with the results of the Rondine method on the creative transformation of conflicts as a significant development of the Article 26 in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights.
Donate scholarships to train new global leaders. We ask member states for a symbolic contribution, which can be earmarked in their defense budgets. This is our first step. We are waiting for yours.
Thank you. We should start going or leaving. Okay, I guess we can leave.
Thank you very much for that powerful appeal. We now move to a discussion, and I would like to introduce our three panelists. First, we have my colleague, Ms. Marie-Paule Rodil, Director of the UNESCO Liaison Office in New York and UNESCO representative to the United Nations. Then we will hear from Mr. Ben Mayeko-Dunmi, Senior Human Rights and Political Affairs Officer at OHCHR. And finally, we will hear from Monsignor Thomas Grisa, Deputy Permanent Observer, Holy See. Marie-Paule, you have the floor.
Mrs. Chair, I would like to introduce my brief remarks. First of all, to thank the Permanent Mission of Italy to have this unbelievable opportunity this morning to share your experience. I think sharing this moment with you is a great opportunity for us, working in the UN, working at the UN, and listening to a very concrete and positive experience, bringing hope to us. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ambassador Zappia. Dear friends, cari amici, it is really a great pleasure on behalf of UNESCO to join you this morning. I wish to thank Rondine Cittadella della Pace and you, your leaders, for sharing your wonderful project experience. It is a true testament of the transformative power of education to foster reconciliation, mutual understanding, and social cohesion. I'm really particularly delighted to hear your appeal, the appeal for action from you. You are a vast source of innovation, ideas, concrete solutions, as well as our hope for a better future for the humanity today. Coming back from Brussels, where UNESCO just organized the first global education meeting last week, since the adoption of the World Agenda, the agenda we are calling the Agenda 2030, the Agenda for Sustainable Development, I would like to share with you the words of our UNESCO Assistant Director General for Education, Mrs. Stefania Giannini. She said, "Authentic partnership and coordinated action is the only way to steer the global push for human rights and dignity that education represents." Here we are. Today, we applaud your long-standing commitment and engagement in fostering peace for education. Your message is well received, and we hope to see you among key partners in promoting the power of education for building sustainable and peaceful societies and leaving no one behind. We hope to see you at the upcoming high-level political forum this year that will review the progress on the achievement of the global goal on education, among others. We are calling this goal SDG 4. This day, as we celebrate the 70th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, it is worth recalling that the right to education is a crucial expression of the accountability upholding the SDG 4 agenda, an ambitious and universal agenda that calls, again, for leaving no one behind while ensuring inclusive and equitable quality education and lifelong learning opportunities. Yes, despite the significant progress, the universal right to education still remains an elusive goal, an aspiration, as you said, for the millions of out-of-school children and adolescents. According to our Institute of Statistics, 262 million children, adolescents and youth were out of school in 2017, representing nearly 1/5 of the global population in this age group. Currently, more than 617 million children and adolescents are not achieving minimum proficiency levels in reading and numeracy. And in sub-Saharan Africa, where just 6 in 10 children complete primary education, only 1 in 10 has basic reading skills, according to recent estimate. As you said, one of the main challenges to the achievement of the right education derives from the growing human mobility across and within regions, and it is increasing when it comes to forced displacement, armed conflicts, natural disasters, or in situations of insecurity and fragility. Dear friends, education is the best investment that countries can make to ensure a prosperous future. With this vision, and as mandated, UNESCO continues to lead and coordinate the Education 2030 agenda, in particular through the Sustainable Development Goal Education 2030 Steering Committee, the Inclusive Global Multi-Stakeholder Consultation Mechanism for Education in the 2030 agenda. In New York here, we have a group of friends that means a group of member states, working on global citizenship education, which explores ways to address these challenges through global citizenship education that empowers learners of all ages to assume active roles, both locally and globally, in building more peaceful, tolerant, inclusive, and secure societies. You are really an expression, concrete expression, of what this group is trying to promote here in New York. Thank you. In this framework, we are UNESCO, we are working with educators and policymakers to use education as a means for preventing violent extremism, launching just last year a teacher's guide on this topic, and also delivering training sessions for policymakers and teachers across Africa, Asia, and Europe. We are working with teachers who struggled during the conflicts and with those who even stopped teaching by providing psychosocial support and tools for new pedagogy. Friends, I wouldn't like to close my remark without sharing with you that a few days ago, in the same room, the UN General Assembly proclaimed 24th January as International Day of Education. We hope you will join us in celebrating this important day, highlighting the role of education for peace and development in the upcoming year, 24th of January. Finally, I just would like to make a personal comment, very personal. I think in front of you, you have the community of the United Nations, working for the United Nations. Behind us, we have ambassadors, and all of us, we are one. But all of us, we have also our own history, personal history. I have mine. I was in the Balkans 25 years ago, and I think that I was looking at the young people, just having 4 years, 5 years, 10 years. And at this time, I was looking at them with a lot of questions in my mind. What could I do for these young children, having their father, their mother dying in front of them with a lot of violence? Looking at you this morning, I would like to congratulate you. You are giving an answer of hope to this question I was having 25 years ago when I was visiting Kosovo, Bosnia. And I think that you are really the testament that we could have trust and confidence in the future generation. In this framework, I would like again to congratulate the Permanent Mission of Italy for sharing with us your experience to bringing this hope to us here in New York. And I would like to congratulate Professor Franco Vaccari for his work to dedicate to you his life and to bring to us this reply that we were looking at 25 years ago. I hope that in the world today, in the place of conflicts, a lot of answer, of reply will come from you, from your generation, to deliver us hope and for our future. Thank you.
Thank you, Marie-Paul, also for sharing a personal insight. Ben, you now have the floor.
Thanks very much. I'm struggling to find the... Oh, here we go. Thank you. Thank you very much, first of all, to the government of Italy, USG Ismail. Thank you, above all, to all of you who've trekked across the world to come and share your energy, your passion, your enthusiasm, your sacrifice in terms of your time that you've devoted to this, and to try to help the rest of us, encourage the rest of us to lift us to your level. In watching your film, which I did before coming, and again this morning, I noted in particular a few key words: transformative conflict. Mr. Vaccari, you've devoted your life to this. Thank you for helping us think about things differently. Transformative conflict and human rights. I'm going to reach back to one anecdote to share with you how I thought about this anew. Some years ago, I was working for the UN, the UN's Human Rights Department in Nepal, in the midst of, at the time, a very intense armed conflict. Intense also because it really confronted different segments of the population with one another. And one particular evening, late in the evening in Kathmandu, the city was in tremendous turmoil. Tens of thousands of people were demonstrating. People were very angry, very tired, scared, uncertain of where this conflict was going to go. Was it actually going to get better or not? I was standing outside a hospital and I saw a group of men, some 40 or so men, amidst a very chaotic situation. And they were dragging in the middle of their group another person who turned out to be a man. I later discovered this was a man they believed to be a police officer in civilian clothing who they thought was spying on them. There was tremendous distrust between segments of the population and segments of the security forces. This group was dragging this man and doing so with great violence. And I could see from a distance that he was terrified. Was he in the last minutes of his life? Was he going to be taken off and killed? Was he going to be beaten so severely that he wouldn't recover? I was there with a UN vest and wondering, what do I do? What should I do? From a transforming conflict point of view, there wasn't really much time to think if this man was in the last minutes of his life, and I decided that one had to try to do something, that the UN had to represent itself well. I ran into the group and did three things. The three things I wanted to share with you, which were inspired really by the Rondine effort. I managed to throw my hand into the mass and grab the hand of the man who was being dragged away. The first thing, make a connection. The second thing was to shout out for help. I said, is there anybody here who speaks English who can translate for me? And somebody said yes. I said, please speak for me. And the third thing was to then shout out slowly and clearly in one sentence. I figured I only had one sentence of time in me. I was speaking to the group, your struggle is not about harming this man. Your struggle is about human rights, about economic and social rights, about civil and political rights. And in that one shout, I think I owe the credit primarily to the person who was translating for me, but I presume he's translated effectively because the group began to discuss amongst themselves, and they made the decision to transform the conflict, or that particular microcosm of the conflict. They changed that dynamic. They released the man to me, not because they knew me, but because they had a perception of the organization of the UN as somehow being positioned correctly. And they, I presume, made an assessment of their their values. What is this process about? It's not about harming this man, whether he's a police officer or not, whether he was spying on us or not. It's about something that's much bigger. It's about our human rights and indeed about his. With that, I'll make 3 points. First, youth. We learned earlier 42% of the world's population is under 25. In some countries, as many of you will know, the numbers under 25 are 70% or even greater. Can peace really be sustainable? Can it really be about the right things if the main beneficiaries of that peace, those under 25, are not involved in framing the problem itself and understanding the problem and framing the solution? I think we have talked about this a lot. The Secretary General in particular of the United Nations has gone a long way to try to embrace youth. Certainly in his messages. I think as an organization, structurally and globally, politically, we have to do more. Second point, human rights are a fantastic way to identify a problem, to understand its root causes, to point us in terms of objectives in the right direction, to give us a framework for a discussion, to provide more or less even ground for the different interlocutors to come together. But despite the wonderful character of this framework, despite its 70 years of experience, we don't bring it to the table nearly as often as we should or nearly as forcefully. We're far too ready to set aspects of it aside when discussions become particularly difficult. We have to do better at that challenge on the peace side as well as on the development. And third and finally, political consensus. Ultimately, the framework for peace is built not only on the political agreements between actors in a particular conflict, but also a much broader consensus. And that consensus is always fragile. It's been fragile since the current consensus was first created 70 years ago with the UN. It's been particularly fragile at certain moments and in certain ways. The consensus of 70 years ago was a wonderful one, but also a weak one because it involved a very limited number of countries. We had colonialism, which silenced many voices. Now we have 193 member states, but consensus is also much harder to build. We have to, I think, do better at building a qualitative consensus, a consensus that is built on people. And with that, I come back to my opening points. I think this initiative is a wonderful one. You re-energize these corridors. You remind us about what our exercise here is about. You speak truth to power in a raw quality that I think is extremely valuable for us. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ben. I now give the floor to Monsignor Grisa. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing your name.
Thank you, Madam Undersecretary, for giving me the floor. Grazie tante alla Missione Permanente d'Italia e all'Associazione Rondine per aver organizzato questo incontro importante, per la presenza di tanti giovani, bravi e coraggiosi. For the peace of the interpreters, I will deliver my remarks in English. Your Excellencies, President Franco Vaccari and members of the Rondine Cittadella della Pace, dear ladies and gentlemen. 70 years ago today, the international community adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which Pope John Paul II called in his 1979 address to the United Nations General Assembly the fundamental document, the basic inspiration and cornerstone of the United Nations, and a milestone on the long and difficult path of moral progress. Like the United Nations itself, the Universal Declaration was a response to the horrors of the two world wars, genocides and other barbarities. All peoples of the world recognized that there were some actions so wicked that no one could justify them, and certain fundamental values that no one could dispute. The Universal Declaration became one of the most powerful expressions of conscience in modern history, inspiring and challenging the consciences of UN members and the world ever since. The Declaration proclaimed in the first sentence of its preamble that the foundation of peace in the world is recognition of the inherent dignity and of the equal and inalienable rights of all members of the human family. Peace in the world flows above all from remembering that each person, no matter how young or old, rich or poor, strong or vulnerable, healthy or sick, wanted or undesired, economically productive or incapacitated, politically influential or insignificant, has dignity and inalienable rights from the very fact of his or her humanity. When we fail to grasp this fundamental truth, when we do not act in accordance with it, we open the way to injustice, inequality, conflict, and even atrocities. Therefore, one of the most important things for peace in the world is training people to recognize and reverence human dignity and rights in each and every person without exception. This is something that the Rondine Cittadella della Pace has been doing successfully for 20 years at its World House near Arezzo, Italy, and in 15 conflict theaters throughout the world. It's also what it wishes to extend globally through its Leaders for Peace campaign being launched today. At the heart of Rondine's educational methodology is forming young people and leaders to overcome the temptation to classify and dehumanize others as enemies rather than as persons with innate dignity and inalienable rights. The first article of the Declaration states that all human beings are endowed with reason and conscience and should act toward one another in a spirit of brotherhood. And that's precisely what the Rondine method seeks to inculcate. It brings young people from opposite sides of conflict to live, learn, and study together, so that up close they overcome labels, prejudices, and resentment and begin to build something together. They enter into an existential dialogue, something that Pope Francis calls caminar juntos, journeying together, convinced that once people begin to walk together, open to fraternity and friendship, they begin to recognize how much humanity they have in common, how much beauty and goodness exists in each other, and how much wisdom is imbued in the way the other approaches the most important questions of human life, its joys and hopes, its sorrows and fears. The type of dialogue Rondine promotes and the world needs, after all, is not just a polite and superficial exchange of words, ideas, or sequential monologues. It's ultimately an exchange of persons. Even if there are great differences in another's background, beliefs, and values, dialogue can begin with the good that attracts the other to value it and order his or her conduct and life according to those values. In so many places and contexts today, people focus so much on what divides that they end up rejecting other persons as a whole. To dialogue with another means to enter into conversation with what is deepest in the other, his earnest aspirations, her answers to the most profound questions of human life. True dialogue is driven by the conviction and awareness that the other is a good, both in himself or herself, but also a good for me and for the world. The other is not a threat. The other is not a competitor in an unending battle of survival of the fittest. The other is not an evil to be marginalized or eliminated. The other is an objective and subjective good. This is the caminar juntos that Rondine promotes. It makes possible the discovery of each other's most profound dignity. And when Pope Francis welcomed Rondine students to the Vatican last week, he praised the way the World House works, saying, "Your educational commitment is to host young people who, in various parts of the world, live stranded in cultures poisoned by pain and hatred, and to offer them a bold challenge to verify in person whether the other, he or she who is beyond a closed boundary of barbed wires or impassable walls, is really what everyone claims an enemy." He said that in the last 20 years, the Citadel of Peace has developed a method capable of transforming conflicts precisely by transforming people in conflict, leading people out of the deception of mutual hostility and aversion and restoring in them a vivid sense of the other's dignity. As you have seen in the video, after listening carefully to the Leaders for Peace appeal, Pope Francis responded by heartily giving his support, sympathy, and blessing to the cause, and committed himself to asking other heads of state and government to do the same. He underlined that there is a need for leaders with a new mentality, precisely those who know how to enter into the type of dialogue Rondine features. Those who do not know how to dialogue and exchange with each other, who do not try to meet the enemy to sit with him at the table as you do, cannot lead people to peace. He encouraged Rondine through its educational efforts to continue its work promoting dialogue between persons, generations, cultures, and societies, pointing out that the more we respect each other's dignity and rights, the easier it is for us to become aware that we belong to the same human community, and the easier it is to grasp the personal responsibility each of us has to make rather than break peace. On this day, in which the international community looks back 70 years with awe and gratitude for what has been accomplished as a result of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, we also look ahead with hope that Rondine's Leaders for Peace appeal will, in fact, form new generations of leaders to prosper the cause of peace and the promotion of respect for human dignity and the inalienable human rights that make peace possible. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much to the speakers. I now can open up the panel, but there are a couple of people who we've heard from already who would like to speak. So first we will hear from Ms. Suhat Kijar, representative of Kosovo.
Thank you, Ms. Allison. Grazie alla missione dell'Italia nelle Nazioni Unite, ambasciatrice Maria Angela. Grazie per l'organizzazione Rondine della Pace per portare oggi questi bravi ragazzi, bravi giovani da tutto il mondo che credono nella pace. Bravi e congratulazioni. It is 70 years from a declaration of universal human rights and 20 years of Rondine Cittadella della Pace. And I want to congratulate both organizations for a long, lasting, and sustainable work. Unfortunately, even after 70 years of Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the world is challenged by violence and lack of respect for human beings. Children, youth, and women, who are the part of population that is far from the decision to start the wars, are the ones mostly affected by violence and breach of their simple existing rights. They became refugees and suffer physically, morally, unfortunately sometimes sexually, pain and trauma. Balkans also suffered many long wars at the end of the 20th century, and it was also mentioned here. Kosovo got out of wars in 1999 with a lot of killed, sexually abused, 800,000 became refugees, and still missing 1,640. Me and my family became refugees, expelled out of home, and became statistics of war, as many are still today. As the country and people who suffered violation of human rights, people of Kosovo, and especially the remarkable youth of Kosovo, pledged to work that what we suffered never should happen to other people. Although previously parties in conflict, youth are building bridges, an agenda for their future. I am so happy today to see Manuela, Gzim, Endrit, Armand, Blerina here today. During the war, they were really small children, mostly 10 years or even more or less. And today, they are ambassadors of peace, working for world to become the better place. Congratulations, I'm so proud of you and of all of other young people who suffered and today are working for a better world. Rondine Cittadella della Pace congratulate for working all together with the youth from all over the world to build new world, new future as they see and want. The world of peace, free of violence and violation of human rights. These young boys and girls of today are global leaders of tomorrow that will continue to see good in each other, praise the differences they have, and work hard to transform the world to the peaceful and prosperous home for all. In this 70th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and also on 20 years of Rondine, I want to congratulate President Vakari for such a good and visionary work that he is doing together with his brave young people. They are, as you said, President Vakari, ambassadors of peace, the young leaders that will never forget what they and their families suffered, and that will transform this experience and pain to the strong energy for peace and prosperity, never losing their trust and their supreme goal of peace in a world. Kosovo, country of young people, support and will support always the peace and human rights. And we are proud of our youth in the world and the youth of all the world here today together. Congratulations to Rondine, to your president, to your remarkable student for spreading the hope and the light of the brighter future. Thank you.
Thank you for those powerful words and reminder that in the Balkans, it's not all as yet peaceful. I'd like to give the floor to the Honorary Giorgio Biguzzi, Emeritus Bishop of Makeni in Sierra Leone, so that he can represent the Italian Episcopal Conference to us today. You have the floor.
Yes, I bring you greetings and congratulations from Cardinal Galtiero Bassetti, President of the Italian Episcopal Conference. He is one of the founders and early supporters of the Rondine life and project. He was eager to attend, but for a number of intervening reasons, he could not come. And he asked me to represent him and bring you his greetings and encouragement. I am a missionary bishop of the Xaverian missionaries working in Sierra Leone, and I'm the Bishop Emeritus of Makeni in Sierra Leone. I too have been involved with Rondine, who accepted, particularly Professor Vakari, accepted some of our students, young people, coming from a country that at that time was torn apart by social, regional, tribal conflicts. And so some of them came and some are present here now. Rondine Cittadella della Pace, as we have heard and as we come to know, and the Rondine method is an innovative and visionary project. And indeed, it deserves to be known and promoted and eventually applied by the leaders throughout the world. It is good that it happens that here the presentation of the method happens to be on the anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. We all have come to know and believe, as I suppose many constitutions, state constitutions in the world say, that all people were created equal. But unfortunately, often enough, that's where equality stops. Well, Rondine tries, and the youth particularly, the young people, they want to make sure that equality is guaranteed, that human rights and equal opportunity become the inheritance of every human being. We all say these things, but coming back to Sierra Leone, I believe that we can see what a common saying known here, at least in the States, that says that the proof of the cake is in the eating. So it's fine to make wonderful statements. We want to see in practice what happens. And Sierra Leone offers the proof of a sweet cake. Well, I believe it will be presented, or you can hear it, because the Rondine youth, the Rondini d'Oro, that came back to the country after their training at Rondine Cittadella della Pace, got involved not only in the resolution of conflicts, in the transformation of conflicts, but in the prevention of conflicts. And this happened just at the end of this past year, the beginning of this solar year, December and January, in view of the political elections, presidential and parliamentary, in view of those elections, to prevent and avoid possible conflicts on regional and tribal boundaries, the youth got involved and toured the country and spoke to opinion leaders of different extractions, religious, political, media people, about what they had learned, the transformation they have gone through, and how people should accept the rights and dignity of everyone. And eventually, we believe that elections were held on March 7th. The result was a big surprise, I would say, to some of us, because we believed that the ruling party would handily win the elections. It lost. And the good thing that they accepted the loss and the change peacefully. There was no violence throughout the country. And we believe that even if it was a small seed, a small drop, the Rondine youth contributed to that successful and peaceful change of regime in Sierra Leone. And so I want to congratulate, of course, the staff of Rondine, all the supporters of Rondine, the students of Rondine, the UN for accepting the representatives of the Rondine d'Oro, the representatives of the Italian Republic. I want to congratulate and thank everyone. Also because the young people can do really wonderful things for the better, for a change in the world. Because genetically, they tend towards renewal. They tend towards the future. And so, even though some of us belong to a genetically previous generation, we look with sympathy and joy at their vision, their engagement, their dreams. And I want to quote here, this time allow me to say it in Italian, the words of a great mayor of Florence, Giorgio La Pira. I giovani sono come le rondini, vanno verso la primavera. If we follow them, we too will go towards the springtime.
Thank you very much for that mention of joy associated with youth, as well as very serious work. I would love to open up the floor to questions or comments. Please remember to keep them focused and to say who you are. I see a hand there. So please, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you. I think it's working.
Very good.
Please say who you are.
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Joseph Levy. I'm a former rabbi of the city of Florence. And as such, I happen to know and visit few times the Rondine and know its people from the place. And I could testify and see how people changed, you know, from a violent and non-listening position to a friendship which recreated humanity and human relations among them. I wish on behalf of the Florence School of Dialogue, which we are creating in Florence, as dialogue between the three, at least the three main Abrahamic religions, Muslims, Jews, and Christians, to congratulate your presentation today, remembering us that it's possible to heal wounds, and by listening and giving face to the person, you may transfer enmity into faithful relations and to building a new humanity. I wish to greet particularly Noam and Christine, who testified today that one of the testimonies of Rondine, that this transformation is possible. The enemies of the past could become friends, building together a new humanity in the future. And it is a particular pleasure for me as a Florentine citizen to bring also the words of Giorgio Lapira, just mentioned, who believed so much in the possibility of creating a dialogue between the children of Abraham. You are demonstrating that this is possible by this method you developed based on knowledge of human psychology. And let me finish by saying, as a religious leader, that I'm also, I want to thank you for reminding us on this day of the Human Rights Day that there is also a shared common religious value which unite us in different words or in different expression. The idea that the human spirit is a representation of a holy, sacred thing which is present in each one of us, a holy life. We call it the Spirit of God. Some other, the image of God. Some other non-Abrahamic religions, they have other names. But I think humanity in all is convinced, and this is maybe what is behind also our Declaration of Human Rights, that each human life contains in itself this force of going towards humanity, this sacred value of life itself. And finally, let me thank the ambassador of Italy to the United Nations for having chosen, to sign out this day with this beautiful presentation and this hope that the Rondine presentation of today offered us. Thank you all.
Thank you so much for those unifying words. I think there was somebody up there. Yes, please.
It's read now. Madam Chair, I am Queen Mother Dr. Deloise Blakely. I am the Community Mayor of Harlem. I am also the Ambassador of Goodwill to Africa. And the end of this year, my humanitarian work would have been 50 years here at the United Nations. I adore young people. And I would say to Rondine, it is imperative that you include the youth from Harlem. They went to the conference in Portugal in 1997-98, and the youth walked from Harlem to the United Nations. And the young people spoke to the world of their concerns. And one of those concerns is street peace. Many of the problems stems from inside, but it ends outside. And thanks to the Secretary General Kofi Annan, his body of works of the culture of peace is at City College of the City University in Harlem. And we ask that you embrace this group. And I ask the young people to open your doors to accept young people who is yearning for the culture of peace. But we must train them in the ways of the culture of peace. And here, Rondine is doing that. And yes, I've been a Roman Catholic nun as a youth, from the age of 16 to the age of 26. Many of the popes have come to Harlem. And the last pope, St. Francis, came to New York, but our request for Harlem was for him to take the A train, because that's what the young people wanted him to do, and get off at 125th Street and walk with Sanders on his feet. He did come to Harlem, but he didn't get a chance for that opportunity or what the youth wanted him to do. I would say it is imperative, young people, I'm speaking to you. I am so proud that the legacy as an elder, I'm leaving it in your hands, and we would do whatever you want us to do to support you. So we thank our chair, and we really give applaud to the ambassador in the country of Italy, and for the chair and Rondine to continue to lead our youth through the leadership of peace. And I thank you.
Thank you for reminding us that the possibility to forge peace can be very, very close at hand, geographically also. I believe there was somebody over here, yes? A gentleman here, to the right.
Grazie, Sottosegretario Generale. Mi chiamo Roberto Reggi, sono italiano, porto la mia esperienza di uomo di governo come Sottosegretario di Stato all'istruzione, alla pubblica istruzione, ma ancor prima come sindaco per 10 anni della mia città. Da uomo di governo nazionale e locale ringrazio Rondine per l'incessante lavoro di formazione, ma ancor prima per la testimonianza sul tema della pace che ha portato avanti per 20 anni, ogni giorno per 20 anni. Un lavoro fatto di esperienza e convivenza quotidiana, sulla gestione dei conflitti, senza risparmio, applicando un metodo che trasforma il nemico al più in avversario, ma mai in un soggetto da sopraffare o eliminare. Lo considera sempre come un soggetto da rispettare, con il quale è sempre più produttivo e conveniente dialogare, anche in maniera franca, dura, ma con rispetto, sempre. Oggi viviamo conflitti a tutti i livelli. Vi sono quelli più evidenti che si trasformano in guerre armate tra popoli interi, ma anche nei paesi apparentemente in pace vi sono livelli di conflitto sempre più elevati, nei governi, tra governo e opposizione, nei partiti politici, nello stesso partito, nelle comunità locali, dove ormai è più facile aggregarsi contro qualcuno che favorire la vivibilità di qualcun altro, dove il diverso si trasforma spesso e quasi sempre in nemico. Allora è ancora più preziosa la proposta di Rondine di investire in formazione nei giovani che saranno i leader di domani. Significa investire in prevenzione diffusa, con un metodo che è basato sul rispetto, sulla perseveranza, nella relazione tra le persone, che possono anche pensarle in maniera del tutto diversa, ma che non devono mai dimenticare i diritti e le ragioni dell'altro. E qui volevo sottolineare però soprattutto anche la valenza simbolica potentissima della proposta di destinare risorse dal proprio budget dei Ministeri della Difesa alla formazione dei giovani. Se ciò avvenisse, significherebbe che ciascun governo avrebbe fatto un lavoro di mediazione e convincimento al proprio interno molto complicato, che sarebbe già un risultato straordinario. Io penso che sia questo un altro elemento forte da sottolineare nella proposta di Rondine. E poi ci penseranno l'energia, l'entusiasmo e la determinazione di questi ragazzi a fare il resto. Porteranno la rivoluzione di cui abbiamo bisogno per preservare i diritti dell'uomo, di ogni uomo, svelando che il concetto di nemico è un inganno planetario. Grazie.
Thank you very much for that reminder. And now I would like to give the floor to the young gentleman over here, and then turn to Professor Vaccari to wrap up our discussion.
Thank you very much. My name is Livin Manisha, and I am from Burundi, Africa, and I represent Dr. Deloise, Queen Mother, who is the ambassador for goodwill to Africa. She has already spoke for herself, so I'm under her training as a youth. One thing that I would like to remind this remarkable assembly is that I am one of the genocide survivors 25 years ago that happened in Burundi, and that was perpetrated against the minority Tutsi. Today I found this opportunity to address to you all, so that you may know that I'm not just representing myself, but I have lived to represent others. And here's a statement that I would like just to deliver to you all. The commemoration of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights is an important day, for it symbolizes freedom from oppression and hope in the discrimination. The recognition of human rights changed the status quo, enabling those who did not have any rights to become considered in their hope of dignity. During the same period of the signature of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crimes of Genocides was adopted. This was an outstanding accomplishment for countless victims that went through the traumatic experience and horrifying crimes of genocide. However, the pledge of the international community to prevent the crimes of genocide did not stop the genocide of 1993 occurring in Burundi, the genocide of 1994 of Rwanda, and similar other crimes that occurred in other countries. We often hear that history repeats itself, and in the case of Burundi, this statement becomes a reality. The country of Burundi underwent patterns of violence and genocide. And once again, the country is on the blink of genocide while the world is watching. The roots of past conflicts never uncovered, and crimes went unpunished for decades, thus enabling a pattern of violence and oppression to settle in the country. Up to date, Burundi did not get the attention or the remedy it deserved. It will soon ripple in the East African region, and this will create devastating effect for Africa and the whole world. Today, we urge the United Nations, the African Union, and the European Union to take prompt actions to address security and human rights violations that affect millions of Burundians. The government of Burundi has not proven itself willing to protect its own population, but rather been actively working toward inter-ethnic hatred, thus dragging the country into civil war again. When the government is failing to uphold its responsibility to protect its population, the international community must protect the population under threat from atrocities such as genocide. We hope that the United Nations will fulfill the expectations ratified in the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crimes of Genocide, which are decorated in the Declaration of Human Rights. I would like to thank the Rondine organization for giving me this opportunity, and I hope that this will carry on. I thank you all.
Thank you for those sobering thoughts, Professor Vaccari.
Ma a conclusione di questa mattina devo i ringraziamenti più sentiti a tutti voi che siete intervenuti. Prima di tutto a Madame Elisa Smail per aver presieduto questa assemblea, alla ambasciatrice Mariangela Zappia che ha creduto fermamente in questa iniziativa e nell'opera nell'appello che oggi abbiamo lanciato. Ringrazio anche tutti quelli che sono intervenuti, in modo particolare il rappresentante dell'UNESCO, della Santa Sede e dell'UNHCR. Grazie per le parole sincere. Credo che tutti abbiano colto che non siamo stati qua per aumentare il rischio della retorica che spesso si fa intorno a dei grandi valori. E i diritti umani sono un grande valore. Noi avevamo fatto un patto di non andare alle Nazioni Unite per aumentare la retorica. Credo che dagli interventi che ho ascoltato e anche credo dai silenzi che hanno condiviso, siamo di fronte a una concretezza che chiede ancora concretezza. E quindi vorrei salutare tutti ringraziando con qualcosa di concreto. Tra i presenti voglio ringraziare tantissimo le due professoresse Anna Bertone e Raffaella Iafrate, che hanno creduto dal punto di vista scientifico con l'Università Cattolica in uno studio iniziato 3 anni fa sul metodo Rondine e che ha dato coraggio e categorie scientifiche per iniziare, perché dovremo continuare. Una discussione che si porterà fra 3 giorni a Washington presso l'ambasciata d'Italia, dove l'ambasciatore ospiterà la prima discussione internazionale del mondo scientifico sul metodo Rondine. Ma concretamente vi voglio salutare così. Questa è una penna. La penna è una penna, credo che costi meno di €1. È una penna che noi presteremo a chi firmerà l'appello. gli appelli si firmano e questo appello avete già colto nei vostri interventi che è molto esigente. L'intervento precedente di Roberto Reggi ricorda come già la volontà di firmarlo innescherà relazioni, dialoghi, aperture feconde. Quindi vi chiediamo di iniziare una relazione con Rondine e di proseguirla con chi ormai ce l'ha storicamente per arrivare a firmare. A Rondine siamo abituati a sognare, ci piacerebbe che potessero venire anche i rappresentanti dei popoli che vivono ancora situazioni di conflitto a firmarlo insieme. Firmare per togliere il prezzo di un'arma e darlo per una borsa di studio non cambia assolutamente nessun equilibrio mondiale, eppure cambia tanto. Concludo riportando a voi uno dei dialoghi già avuti con alcuni ambasciatori presentando questo appello e riporto quello avuto con l'ambasciatore israeliano presso la Santa Sede a Roma. Quando gli ho presentato l'appello, eravamo andati con Noam, l'ambasciatore si fa avanti e mi dice: ma lo sa, signor Presidente, che se ci distraiamo una settimana noi potremmo dire che è l'ultima settimana della nostra vita di Israele? E io gli ho risposto: signor ambasciatore, mi sembra che sia molto ottimista, perché se si distraesse un solo giorno potrebbe essere l'ultimo giorno. Allora l'ambasciatore si è messo a sorridere perché ha colto la concretezza della proposta, che è anche simbolica ma è anche pratica. Noi non chiediamo assolutamente il disarmo, non è questa la nostra storia. La nostra storia è quella di chiedere un passo possibile e tutti possono fare questo passo. Nessuno è pregiudizialmente impossibilitato dal compierlo. E siccome fin da piccolo mi hanno insegnato i maestri del dialogo che quando si vuole dialogare davvero, l'arte è quella di non mettere mai l'altro nelle condizioni di difficoltà e nell'impossibilità di rispondere, noi siamo qui oggi per proporre a chi vorrà di compiere un passo. Siamo con la penna in attesa a Rondine. Grazie.
That concludes our meeting. Thank you so very much for coming. We are always glad to see new and many faces at the United Nations. Wishing you a very happy Human Rights Day.